Hello, my name is Emily, and I'm here today with nationally recognized authority in trust clause litigation, Dan Dalton. How are you doing today, Dan?
Good afternoon, Emily. I am doing great. It's so good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, Dan, the people want to know, how did your fantasy football league end?
Well, Emily, I am surprised how many people have reached out to me on this topic, and because I think they knew, they just kind of went and rubbed it in. So thank you for that. So I got one win. Zach Wilson threw for 300 yards one game. So I had to buy a very expensive dinner for a group of about 20 guys at Morton's Steakhouse. And I had to get up and sing I'm a Little Teapot. So that was a little humiliating. But next year, well, actually, I should have learned my lesson. Just don't do fantasy football. I'm just not good at that.
Well, I definitely would have paid to have seen that happen, Dan. Well, so I do have a couple questions regarding this 2024 UMC Conference. So, what are the two biggest issues to be decided this year at this year's general conference?
Well, there's a number of issues. I think there's 1,100 petitions right now that are pending before legislative bodies to be determined at the general conference. And there's a lot of big issues to discuss, but there's really two main issues I think that's going to drive this conference. The first one is going to be a revision of the social principles. The social principles are, it's not law, it's basically just guidelines, or think of it like a political party's planks. This is kind of a statement of what the United Methodist Church position is on a number of things. So it's gone from a moderate to, slight to the right to moderate position as it was before, to right now it's going to be maybe far left, progressive, Democratic Party on the other side of the proposal. Very similar to where the UCC, the Episcopal Church, and Presbyterian Church USA is on their social principles. So those those social principles, we'll see those come up for a vote. I don't know if all of them will come up for a vote. I know there's three legislative committees that are looking at different parts of it. So I suspect some of that will be trimmed out. But the social principles, that's the one issue. The second issue is regionalization. Regionalization is basically separating the United Methodist Church into different continents around the world. So the idea is there would be a United States Methodist Church, a South American United Methodist, Europe, Asia, uh, all over the United, there would just be different regions of the world that would be broken into the United Methodist Church. Africa is another one. And the idea is that each United Methodist Church would have its own doctrines and discipline, but it would fall under the umbrella of the United Methodist Church. So that's generally how that would work. There's a lot more detail to it than that. That's a very high level overview of regionalization. So regionalization and revised social principles probably are going to be the two driving issues at the General Conference 2024.
What do you expect will be the outcome?
Well, we are in a very unique position because we have clients and individuals in all four camps of the traditionalist, of the institutionalist, of the mainstream centrist, and of the progressive wings of the United Methodist Church Party. I think all four camps agree that they have no idea how the votes will go. They can kind of count delegates here and there, but they don't know. I mean, because like the last time in 2019, uh, all four thought that the one church plan would be passed in St. Louis, and it didn't pass, much to the surprise of pretty much everybody in St. Louis, including myself. So that's kind of the prevailing thought of nobody really knows. If I had to kind of put up odds on passing things, I would suggest that the social principles are likely to pass in some form. My sense is that uh, there's enough movement because of the traditional churches leaving the denomination, there's enough movement to revise a number of those principles, basically to keep people interested in the United Methodist Church. And so I think that will pass. Regionalization, though, I don't think that will pass. I just don't see an, the I don't see the movement of the different groups got kind of coalescing around that whole idea. It really regionalization basically breaks the denomination into different parts or segments, primarily because of funding. The United States funds most of the conferences around the world, and if the United States is its own conference, there's a concern, I would believe, on Africa and all these other conferences, Asia, whatnot, that funding mechanism will go away. And so I can see that not passing. And it has a higher threshold. It's a 2/3 vote at the annual conference, whereas the social principles are 50%. So 50% plus one. So my guess is social principles will pass. Regionalization will not pass.
Is there a chance the disaffiliation legislation will be approved?
No, I really don't see that happening. I mean, again, we had we had learned within probably a month of that separation protocol being negotiated that the there wasn't really an interest on behalf of the institutionalists not to pass it. It wasn't the progressives, it wasn't the centrists or traditionalists. It was the institutionalists who really didn't want to see that happen. I saw a really interesting interview of the mediator, Ken Feinberg, who spoke about the mediation process. And he said something interesting and I agree with, is probably at the mediation table. And when the separation protocol was signed by everybody, there probably was at that moment a good faith negotiated agreement, or everybody agreed to the terms and to separation. But right after that, we had heard rumblings right away that institutionalists, the bishops, the retired bishops, the institutionalist folks within the denomination were angry. They did not want to see any type of negotiated resolution to occur. And with time, with COVID canceling 2020's general conference and time after that, it really gave enough time to kind of drive a wedge between all the four parties so that the protocol won't pass. So that won't pass. I know there's petitions right now to extend 2553. That's not likely to pass. There's a petition to make 2553 applicable to all around the world. That's not going to pass. And again, the reason is there's so many churches that disaffiliated. 1/3 of the denomination's gone now. 1/3 from 2019 until now, you had about 10,000 churches just gone. So with that, and most of them are the largely funded, the churches that fund the denomination. So I don't really see that happening. So we'll see what happens with that issue, but disaffiliations, I think pretty much everybody agrees is not going to happen.
What do you expect to happen after the general conference?
I think there's going to be a number of the parties coalesce around figuring out what to do next. I think that you're going to see a movement of a number of churches to break away as one group from the United Methodist Church. I don't see that happening, quite frankly. There's just not enough support for that. And it's just ironic that the folks that want to break away are the ones that were so opposed to disaffiliation for the traditionalists. There's a movement also right now of creating a new entity where tithes and offerings would go to that new entity in the United States, and the churches would not fund or send their apportionments to their annual conferences, who pay apportionments to the general conference. And so I can see the system kind of collapsing with that. So my sense is we're going to see a lot more angrier people. There's a lot of angry people right now. The denomination, they're going to get more angry because they know there's not the votes to do what they want to do in the next general conference. Everything has to occur this year to make everything work the way that they want them to work. And I don't think the votes are there yet. So I think we're going to see a further splintering. I don't think we're going to see an end to the acrimony of the denomination. I think that there's not going to be a lot of answers from the bishops and the institutionalists other than just hang in there and we'll fix this thing. But that didn't work very well for them before, so I don't see that going to be happening to well this next time either.
What should a local church do leading up to the general conference?
Well, I think we're a month out or 2 months out from the general conference right now. It's the beginning of March, 2024 when we're recording this, and I think that the leadership of local churches really do need to sit down and think through where do they see themselves going to be in the next 5 years or so. The denomination is going to change dramatically. I mean, the funding units have left, so your apportionments are going to go up and your services are going to go down because you're going to see jurisdictions merge together. So you're not going to get the same level of service from your annual conference as you did before, if you got anything from last time. You're going to see, the level of, the appointment process is going to break down because you're going to have a lot of churches that are not going to be able to have pastors in them because there's just not a lot of churches that are out there right now and that are functioning well. And then you have a lack of people in the seminary system to kind of fill that gap, for that. So I think a local church needs to sit down and figure out where they're at and where they plan to be. They should see, do we want to move forward and become independent? I think they should at minimum steps is to protect themselves, incorporate or revise their articles of incorporations or, check their deeds and amend their deeds and, take all those steps just in case they need to separate, to begin to separate and get that process going. And again, they don't have to go through it, but if they find that they need to, they should do that. And then the third thing is to figure out if they are going to leave, where do they go? Should they go independent, which a lot of larger churches are going. They're finding there's really not a need for a denomination. If there's, again, the needs before were based on pension, was based on Sunday school materials, it was based on pastors. You can get all of those outside of a denomination now. So there's not the need as you would find before. And, do you really want to be a part of a denomination like the United Methodist Church or any other denomination as well, in light of the problems that they've experienced before? So, those are discussions that should occur now, not next week or next year. It's, have those discussions now. And then finally reach out and work with competent legal counsel to help you through this process. It's not as simple as just filing a lawsuit. You've probably seen cases that's occurred and, or groups of churches got together and filed a lawsuit and quite frankly, they haven't done very well. But the individual churches that have taken the steps to protect their interest and negotiate a way out or to litigate, they've done very well. And those are take those lessons in mind when you move forward. And those are the things I would recommend to local churches. We can talk more when we're in Charlotte, or you can call our office and we can provide more information to it. We can provide more information to you to your specific need. But again, think in terms of your specific church, and how that church is going to work in the future. That's my recommendation.
Well, as always, thank you for your insight, Dan. If your church is interested in hiring our firm, please reach out to our office at 313-859-6000 or email us today. Thank you.